Well, not my first mistake, as we now know. But by the time April 2021 rolled around, like the house was built, we had just gotten Rex, my puppy, which was the first time things got intense. But in April 2021, we were in some fight about something. I'm in the bathtub. I have no idea what we were fighting about. I splashed water against the mirror, and he came in like another human and picked me up by my hair, held my head underwater, pulled me by my hair out of the bathtub, dragged me, strangled me with his other arm as he was dragging me out of the bathtub naked, totally lifeless, and strangled me and threw me on the floor. And then my arm hit the tub and I had a big bruise there. But it was so shocking that I was like, I didn't know what to do. That was the first day I took pictures. So I took pictures of the injuries and the scene, and I started keeping these pictures in a Dropbox folder called Fear. And I told my best friend, if anything ever happens to me, there's a folder called Fear on my Dropbox. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I can't tell you, but know this.
FYI, Dropbox called Fear.
Yeah. And from there, 8 months of like strangling me. We actually had a redo wedding in which I fell off the motorcycle at 80 miles an hour in my flower halo and wedding dress because he was going 80 and a 25 up a hill, up an entrance, and the motorcycle G-force, like he lost control and flew off the bike, motorcycle went off a cliff. Now this is my redo wedding night. And I live like a couple blocks from this. So I get up, and this is me still lying to myself. So like, I've rebuilt myself. This is who I am now. I was like, nope. I literally said, nope. Get over here. Leave the motorcycle down there. You got to get home. You're going to get a DUI. We need to wash your mouth out. Let's go. And he's like over here crying about his motorcycle. I'm bleeding from every area in my wedding dress. And I've got road rash that took 4 hours to scrub out of my skin. And we walk home, and I've got a video of me like, focus. We are so blessed right now. Because ultimately, yes, we survived. Clearly, God loves me because I've totally like committed to this man, and I'm still lying to myself, and like you saved my life. And I just am blown away by the fact I even survived that. And yeah, he doesn't get a DUI that night because I don't even come and talk to the cops. I don't tell the medical people at the hospital that I was on a motorcycle. I tell them I was on an electric bike that I fell off of. I don't tell them it's my wedding night. They scrub me for 4 hours, and he's not even at the hospital. My best friend is there holding my index finger on the nail because I was shredded everywhere. And yeah, and then after that, so now I'm like covered in bandages. After that, this is after our wedding, like a month of healing, 3rd-degree burns, road rash. And then I get a black eye, and then like things continue to escalate with physical violence. And I was such a mess at this point. I was literally, every time we were fighting, I'm going to puddle on the floor, like begging him to stop fighting. Like, please, I just want to stop fight. Like, whatever you want. I was giving this man, every time he would fight with me, I would give him like $10,000 here, $10,000 there. Like, just relax. Like, it's fine. Like, here. And it just, I'm disgusted with myself. I really am disgusted with myself that I gave in to him because I thought I loved him so much, but it was totally like this trauma bond, gaslighting, like manipulation that I was completely blind to. So I told no one about this as it was going on. And it wasn't until like, it just felt like at one point he put a pillow over my face. My dog was like 8 months old. He would like jump over me and try and like protect me. And it was just, it was just really bad. I couldn't talk to the therapist about it because he was like, if you talk about it, like, they're going to arrest me.
Because if you talk about it to the therapist, then the therapist has to say something. And it's like all the dominoes knocked down in that direction.
Yeah. So by the time January 2022 rolled around. So from April 2021 to January 2022, we'd had a wedding. I'd been strangled at least 20 times at that point. And the feeling of a man holding you by the neck who you love and looking in their eyes, I can't even explain the dissociation my mind and body wanted to do. And like, as I think back on those moments now, I have to keep like releasing the fear in my body and it's so crushing. It's so crushing. But I did report him. So somehow, amidst all of this, like even a moment where I felt like my unborn child like tell me that he wasn't the father, and like my body like left in a way. I don't even know how to explain it, but I finally went and reported him, mostly because I was afraid that he was actually going to kill me and no one knew, and he would get all of my money and everything and that house and all of it because he was my husband. I'd like put it in his name and no one knew what was going on. So
death was the scariest thing. It wasn't like that he had choked you out all these handful of times. You got to that point where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. And that was the moment.
Yeah. And not even like fear that he was, not even just that he was going to kill me, but that he was going to kill me and that no one was going to know who he was or what he did. And he would just live on having robbed me of life and money and everything. Like already robbed me of all my like dignity at that point. So yeah. I was afraid that it was going to be like an untold story that what do you do to protect the next girl? Like you're already dead. Like you literally can't do anything at that point. So when I reported him, it really came from a place of, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know how I'm going to get through this divorce. I've made it a lot harder on myself, honestly. But I need to get away from this person. I actually, when I reported him, I begged them not to arrest him because I was still in love with him and I didn't like actually want to get him in trouble. And they convinced me that it was abuse. They spent hours talking to me and explaining to me like how serious strangling is, like especially that one. So, yes. So I reported him, and then I found out that he had already been talking to other girls on Instagram from his sister, which was like a cool like
side note. Here you go.
Side note. He's talking about like taking girls to Cabo. I'm like, what? So after that, which sadly that was my last straw. That was like, okay, you clearly have no boundaries. Like you can do all these things to me, but you're not going to cheat on me too. Like that was the last straw for me. So I said to him, I'm done. It's fine. I'm coming to get my things. Like it's just done. And he serves me a protective order at that moment. So I had begged them not to arrest him. So the charges were in pending space for the next year. I hadn't put a protective order on him because, again, I wasn't trying to get him in trouble. And he put one on me because he had watched me report him to the police in my neighbor's car because he had followed me on the phone. And I had no idea that he had even known that I'd reported him. And he literally watched me. So he goes and like makes all of these plans.
He's like, me first.
Totally. Locks me out of the email. Now he has a protective order, gets me locked out of the house. And he spends the rest of that year basically dangling things over my head, telling me I have to come clean it, telling me I have to like take Rex for a walk with him or he's going to make my life a living hell. Just total manipulation and control. And now my eyes are open to it at this point. So my like self-respect came back in real hard. And I was like, okay, now we know what this is. And at the same time of all of this chaos, like him showing up, because now we have protective orders on each other. He shows up at the park with a boombox and like a love letter trying to get me back at like 8 a.m. I think I'm like hallucinating. I'm like, is this actually happening?
8 a.m., boombox, a letter.
And, you know, it's in my mind. I'm like, oh, that's sweet. Like, as I think back on it, like such a movie. It was sweet.
I'm not laughing at you at all by any means. I'm laughing because you can't make this shit up.
Totally.
And this is not, like you said, how do I help? What about the next girl? I'm going to be dead. Like, this is a story that happens to women over and over and over again. And you think like, oh, there's this little breadcrumb again. He must love me. He must care. Maybe he's changed.
Totally. And he tried that breadcrumb a few times, but he tried it that day. And then like 5 days later, I met my now boyfriend, Jess. And so I was real confused that day. But then I met my boyfriend, and God was like, here is a man who actually does MMA and could kill someone with his hands if he wanted to. He would never. But he is like strong and powerful and so sweet. Like, he would never even think to harm me in any way. He's just cream of the earth. So seeing this man while I was dealing with this child in a man's body, I can't even explain how much it was like God asking me, who is the woman that you want to be? Like, you can have whatever man you want, but like, what do you want them to bring out in you? And haven't you learned already, like, that this isn't the person you want to be? So I feel deeply grateful